Hello learners, welcome to Lesson 31, Session 4, and this is the last session for Lesson 31, which means it's time to do some on your own. I will help you through the first page, and then you'll pause the video and finish the packet on your own, and then we'll come back and I'll help you with all the solutions. Okay, today we are going to refine classifying quadrilaterals. And let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Okay, complete the example below. Then solve problems 1 through 9. Example, a patio has 2 pairs of sides that are the same length. All sides are not the same length, but it does have 4 right angles. What shape is the patio? Look at how you could show your work using a model. Okay, so let's go back and see what they wanted us to have. A patio has 2 pairs of sides that are the same length. Okay, notice that this is 4 units long, and this one's 4 units long, so 2 sides the same length. And this side has 1, 2, oh, that was 3 units. Sorry, I misspoke. That was 3 units, and this one's 3 units. How about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4 units, and this one's 4 units. So it has 2 pairs of sides that are the same length. These are the same, these are the same. All sides are not the same length. Well, because we have 3 and then 4, 3 and then 4. So we've drawn that part correctly. But it does have 4 right angles. Are there 4 right angles? There are. I can use the corner here. It makes a corner. What shape is this? What shape is the patio? If you said rectangle, you're correct. We could also call it a parallelogram, and we could also call it a quadrilateral, but a rectangle is its very specific name. And remember, we want to be specific and precise in math. Okay, apply it. Draw a quadrilateral that has no sides the same length and no right angles. So we just have to draw what? How many sides do we need? A quadrilateral has 4 sides, no sides the same length, and no right angles. Okay, well, I'm going to draw one line. Now, no right angle, so I'm going to draw something at a slant. I have to make it longer. Now, this is the length of my first one, and this is the length of my second side. My third side's got to be a different length, so I'm going to go really long. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I don't want it to be a parallelogram, so I'm just going to do this. There we go. Okay, I think that one's longer than this one. And then I'm going to attach it there. Okay, so I do have 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do have 4 sides, and none of them are the same length. Did you draw something like that? Take a minute, see if you can draw a different shape. That's not a rectangle, it's not a square, not a parallelogram, and not a rhombus. Trying to think if I could do a different one. Okay, so there's one length. And I'm going to make it really long. Oh, and then I can do this. There we go. That worked. I have 4 sides that are different. And there's no right angles. And no sides are the same length. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, it is time for you to start working on your own. Go ahead and finish up the next 3 pages. Pause the video. When you're done, you can come back and see the solutions. Okay, here we go with number 2. Fiona cut along the dashed line shown in the shape below. She knows that she has made 2 quadrilaterals. Is either of Fiona's quadrilaterals a parallelogram? Explain why or why not. You should have said no. Neither quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So this is not a parallelogram, and this is not a parallelogram. Neither shape has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Notice since she cut that on a slant, that means the bottom is not parallel and the top is not parallel to it. So neither one is a parallelogram. Okay, number 3. Which shape is not a rectangle? Remember, in order to be a rectangle, you have to have 4 right angles. And so anything that has 4 right angles is going to be a rectangle. So A, 4 right angles, B, 4 right angles, and C, 4 right angles. Those are all rectangles. And we're looking for the one that's not. So you should have marked D. Ari chose A as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? Ari forgot that a square has all the attributes of a rectangle. A square is always a rectangle. Ari was thinking that since this was a square, it wasn't a rectangle. But that's silly because all squares are rectangles. Okay, let's turn the page. In number 4, a rhombus must have all of these attributes except, that's right, it cannot have 4 right angles. So you should have marked C. In number 5, what is the best name that describes all the shapes below? They are parallelograms. That's the only name that we can use for all of them. We could have said quadrilaterals, but it's not specific enough. It's not precise enough. So we need to say parallelograms because notice that all of them have 2 sets of parallel sides. So that is the best name for them, parallelograms. Number 6, use the grid below. Draw a quadrilateral that belongs to at least 2 of these groups. It has to be either a parallelogram, a rectangle, or a square, and it has to belong to 2 of them. So I drew a square. Explain why your shape belongs to these groups. Show your work. Okay, so I drew a quadrilateral and I drew a square. I can call that a parallelogram. I can call it a rectangle, and I can call it a square. I also drew this shape. I can call this a rectangle, and I can call it a parallelogram. What did you draw? Did you draw something similar to mine? Now remember, in order for it to belong to at least 2 groups, you would have to have either a rectangle or a square. Okay, turn the page. Use the grid below. Draw a quadrilateral that does not belong to any of these groups. So it cannot be a parallelogram, it cannot be a rectangle, and it cannot be a square. Explain why your shape does not belong to any of these groups. Show your work. I drew 3 different kinds just to kind of show you that there were multiple ways to do this. Does one of your shapes look like mine? Well, it doesn't matter as long as, these are the things I had to think about. There are no 2 sets of parallel sides. Okay, because if I had parallel sides, I'd have a parallelogram. And no shapes with 4 right angles, because then I would have maybe ended up with a rectangle or square. So notice that all of mine do not have 4 right angles, and all of mine do not have 2 sets of parallel sides. How about yours? Go ahead and check yours and make sure they don't have these 2 things as well. Okay, number 8. Tell whether each sentence is true or false. All rhombuses are quadrilaterals. That is true. All rectangles are squares. That is false, because squares must have 4 equal sides, and sometimes a rectangle does not have 4 equal sides. All parallelograms are rectangles. False. Rectangles must have 4 right angles, and sometimes parallelograms don't have 4 right angles. All quadrilaterals are parallelograms. That's false. A quadrilateral has 4 sides, but parallelograms have to have 2 sets of parallel sides. So you can have 4 sides without all of them being parallel. And our last one, all squares are rhombuses. That is true. Okay, number 9. Jess says that a square cannot be a rectangle because a rectangle has 2 long sides and 2 short sides. Is he correct? Explain. Okay, let me read that again. Jess says that a square cannot be a rectangle because a rectangle has 2 long sides and 2 short sides. Okay, now I understand. So he's saying that because a square has 4 sides the same, it can't be a rectangle. He thinks a rectangle has to have 2 long sides and 2 short sides. And is that true? No. A rectangle can have 4 sides all the same, and that's why we call it a square. So no, one pair of opposite sides of a rectangle does not have to be longer than the other pair. When all 4 sides are the same length, a rectangle is also a square. Okay, that's it for lesson 31. Awesome job. I absolutely love that you guys work so hard at math. I'll see you later.